thanks for what you do with your podcast and all the rest. You're doing a great job. Hope everybody keeps tuning in. You get a lot of good info, a lot of insights, understandings of how to get strong, how to stay strong, how to use your strength.
You do a great job, dude. You make things better than they are in real life, I think.
If you don't follow Massenomics, y'all do it. Social media, website, everything.
Massenomics.
Oh, thank you, Bill Kazmaier and company. Welcome, everyone, for episode 450 of the Massenomics podcast, the lifting podcast about nothing, listened by millions and viewed around the globe. My name is Tanner.
And my name is Tommy.
Recorded from the corners of the Dakotas. Tommy, you throw me off each week when you get that sound going just at the very end. I think I'm not going to be able to tell.
That's my reminder, is right at the very end.
You put it on every time, and I'm like, oh, yep, there it is.
Yep, that's my reminder. Right at the very end, hit the button so Tanner can know when to go.
Yeah. Someone on YouTube comment the other day said I miss Tommy pointing at me.
This one's for you, and you, and you, and you, and you.
Yeah, that's more like it. A little throwback point. Yeah, episode 450, we got big Angelo Fortino coming on later this episode. Not 14-year-old Fortino.
Not a 14-year-old powerlifter. He might have been. He was definitely 14 at one point. Not sure if he was a 14-year-old powerlifter, but
that was at least a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Several other things to touch on, recap, foreshadow, preview, all the sorts of things. But first, this week's episode is brought to you by our great friends over at Build Fast Formula. They are friends in Watertown, actually, also from not really a corner of the Dakota, just like more of a centralized location.
Kind of like sort of an edge of the Dakotas.
Yeah. Vaso Blitz and Full Blitz. They're two pre-workout formulas. One of them is the fully loaded, caffeinated. The other, the dual nitric oxide support. And then they're also their 80-20 protein. I just got a fresh shipment of the chocolate lava cake protein, 80-20. It's good as ever. Putting it in my oatmeal in the morning, mixing it right up.
I'm going to be due for another shipment of chocolate here pretty soon.
Yeah, chocolat. And then also they now have out their creatine monohydrate that you can purchase. That is what's the net weight on that thing?
1,000 pounds.
It weighs 1,000 pounds, correct. You can get 1,000 pounds of creatine monohydrate if you buy enough of them. And with anything for Build Fast Formula, if you use discount code Massenomics, save you 10%. Thank you, Build Fast.
This episode is also brought to you by Texas Power Bars. If you head on over to TexasPowerBars.com, they got a couple of interesting things in the works over there. The first one, right there, big on the website, buy any Texas Power Bar, get a free American flag. I mean, America right there, baby. And
say less.
And there's also another little something going on right now. I don't know if you caught this, Tanner. This is kind of interesting. They have the 29-millimeter Texas Power Bar that we both know and love and are big fans of, but they have something a little special. You can get the prototype sleeve version. Instead of the regular price of $330, you can get the prototype version for $282. What the hell is the prototype version? To be honest, I don't know totally, but what it is what I can tell you, though, is it still has the 29-millimeter shaft with chrome sleeves. You can get the shaft in a variety of coatings and colors, but it sounds like building the final version of the 29-millimeter power bar, they tested a few different options for, I believe, sleeve widths, or I should say collar widths. So I think there's some variance in what options exist on the sleeves for these things. So if you're fine with like the sleeves being marginally different than the final thing, you can save yourself about $50 on a 29-millimeter power bar right now. So check that out over at Texas Power Bars. And also, if you want to save some more money, you can go over to their Blem Bar section where you can save up to like $80 on quite a few different bars. So thank you, Texas Power Bars.
All right. Thanks, Texas Power Bars. Tommy, you wrote a topic in here that I've just been dying to talk about.
Oh,
I don't know if you know what it is.
Yeah, why don't you just bring me up to speed here, Tanner? I know, but break it down for me.
I assume we're talking about the same topic, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, Edmund Fitzgerald, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald.
There's been a lot of. You actually kind of awoke a memory in me that I forgot I had, and okay. Maybe there's some people that don't know what the Edmund Fitzgerald is.
All right. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald. First of all, I guess what we're referring to here is the song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot. He was writing about the tragic incident that took place on Lake Superior in 1975 when the SS Edmund Fitzgerald sank. It had 26,000 tons of iron on it. They were headed from Superior, Wisconsin to, I think, final destination is Detroit. I assume it's metal that they're taking for automotive factories or whatever factories they have over there.
Yeah.
The SS Edmund Fitzgerald was a fairly large ship as far as they go on Superior, and it had a crew of 29 experienced crew members, including the captain. And on November 10th, they sank, and all of them died. It was the gales of November. They came earlier than normal, and the water became rougher than anticipated early in November. And
which is wild when we're talking. You don't think of that as being like a Great Lakes thing, that you can get waves so big that a giant ship like that can take them out.
16 or almost 20-foot waves.
Damn.
That took them on.
I'm not talking the ocean here, but
I mean, I know a lot about it because I've been talking about this in excess with my family and bothering my wife about it all week, and my son has become interested in it, and we won't stop talking about it. But it's funny you say that. Look up how many shipwrecks and how many deaths there's been on the Great Lakes. I think it might be like 30,000 ships have been sunk on Superior is the biggest of the Great Lakes.
Okay, yeah. So this says, and I get that the Great Lakes basically feel like an ocean when you're on them. I get that they're enormous, but still, it's not the ocean. Okay, yeah. It says right here, the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum estimates 6,000 ships and 30,000 lives lost.
Yeah. Superior is the largest freshwater lake by land area, not by cubic measurement though, because it's not if you factor in the depth, because there's one in Russia that's like a mile deep.
Okay,
Superior's
but by surface area, it is the biggest.
Yeah, by surface area, there you go, is the largest.
Okay.
So back to the SS Edmund Fitzgerald is written by Gordon Lightfoot, Canadian singer-songwriter, and the song is just the tale of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. It's a ballad where it's just like, it's like a 6-minute song where it's just like nothing repeats. It's just like the story. He's telling the story throughout the whole song.
And there has become a lot. I've noticed there's been a lot of memes about it online lately too.
Yes. And I always liked that song prior to, but then like it coming up in memes, I'm like, it really resurged it for me.
I gotta say, I haven't. I totally forgot to do it. I was going to do it before this. Just sit down and just listen to the song the whole way through.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Because I've only picked up pieces of it from memes. I haven't actually given it a clean playthrough, but I can tell you, I remember the first time I ever heard that song. It was in elementary school. We had one, I want to say in the entire elementary school, one teacher that was a man, and it was the music teacher. And for whatever reason, basically never played, popular music. He just strummed his guitar and played whatever kids songs we had to sing. But very, very rarely he would play an actual piece of popular music. When I say, I mean like music you would hear on the radio. And I remember I had to have been like second grade or something. And for whatever reason, he played The Wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald.
That's a wild choice.
I don't know why. And I just remember that really stuck out to me at the time. Like, oh man, this is a boat. And it went down, and he probably embellished, or he probably really amped up the theatrics of the story and really got us engaged. But that really stuck with me at the time. Is that, man, this boat crashed and everyone died.
It is a gnarly song though, like the way he tells the story. I mean, it is theatrical in a way, is a fair thing. And actually, Scance mentioned here the last radio signal that the Edmund Fitzgerald sent out that was ever recorded by anyone is a neighboring ship had asked how they're doing, how are they faring over there, and the captain replied back, we're holding our own. And that was the last that was ever heard of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Yeah, he said his literal response is, we are holding our own.
Wow.
They say in the song, Gordon Lightfoot says, they think if they could have made it just like 15 more miles, if they would have put, he says if they would have put 15 more miles behind them, they would have made it to Whitefish Bay and they would have been fine. So they weren't
right
far
there.
away from making it to clearer waters.
Damn, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
My
wife is just absolutely sick of me talking about this and playing this song. I was blasting it in the garage, off the garage radio, so all the neighbors could hear it this weekend. And
well, so one thing, just because the number of shipwrecks just totally amazes me here, but it does look like the number of shipwrecks has drastically reduced since like the 70s and 80s.
Well, that's good.
To the point where it looks like, just looking here, because you can sort by date, it looks like there was maybe one in like 1990. But I feel like the Edmund Fitzgerald might have actually kind of signed the end of an era for shipwrecks there.
Yeah, okay. Other tidbits, Gordon Lightfoot, the only other song I really know of him is very, very well is Sundown, which a lot of people would have heard that song too.
Maybe I need to hear it.
You probably heard it. It's like, sundown, you better take care. If I find you been sleeping round my bed.
Yeah, I'll have to hear it.
I don't know if that's a cover or I think other people have covered his version of it is actually what Sundown, that's about the other one I know.
Yeah, that's definitely, looking at the Spotify numbers, Sundown has 158 million plays. Number 2 is If You Could Read My Mind with 138 million. I don't know that one. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald has 76 million plays, though. That's all.
Okay. Next year will be the 50th anniversary. So
those numbers are going to shoot way up then.
Yeah. Yeah. They ring the bell 29 times each year, one for every soul lost on the Edmund Fitzgerald. And some say now they do it 30 times, one extra for Gordon Lightfoot, now that he's passed on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That is, I think, the extent of my knowledge of the SS.
Well, that's pretty good. I feel like the way you're really rattling off the facts, I'm like, you just saved me having to read the Wikipedia article because it's quite long, actually. So, actually, what I'll do though is I'll listen to the song and then I'll still read the Wikipedia article, anyways. But this reminds me though. There's one other song that.
Are we sure we can't talk more about the Edmund Fitzgerald?
Actually, we can if you want. We can bring it back to that. We don't actually have to move on ever. This did remind me. There's another song that sort of fits the same vein for me, where we had a teacher. This one was in high school that played a piece of music, and you have a lot of memorable music teachers.
This wasn't a music teacher. This was a history teacher. This one. The high school one was a history teacher. Oh, so he talked about the Edmund Fitzgerald.
No. The music teacher was in elementary, like second grade. In high school, we're talking a history teacher here. And he played a little song, because as you get more in American history and more with current times, you start, I don't know. Was there much for pop culture in the 1770s? They didn't have like entertainment. They were like fighting wars and dying.
Busy enough trying to be alive.
Exactly. Yeah. You didn't have time to. Yeah. So as time goes on, there's more of culture and pop culture at that. So we had a teacher. He played a song and it actually really did catch on with everyone. Everyone seemed to really like it at the time. And I'm curious if you ever heard this song. It is The Eve of Destruction by Barry McGuire.
I don't know it. Could you sing it to me?
Oh, I'm serious. I think you'll actually really like this song, Tanner. I think
not by Tobey Maguire.
Not Tobey Maguire. I think you'll really like this song, The Eve of Destruction by Barry McGuire. And Barry McGuire. What year was this made? What year was the song? It has to be like a Vietnam era song. 1965. Okay. When was Vietnam?
That seems close. Close enough.
I mean, it's a very.
I only know. I'm a white dude. I only know about World War II history trivia.
It looks like Vietnam took place from like 55 to 75, according to Wikipedia.
Okay. Only 20 years. Great.
Yeah. As all wars do. You should. It's just, it fits. I mean, so many people, depending on how you feel about things, the world is either ending or the greatest place on earth ever at any given moment. And so much of it, it's just, the Eastern world, it is exploding. Violence flaring, bullets loading. You're old enough to kill, but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? I mean, it goes on and dude, it's so good. It's you got to listen to the song. You'll love it.
How many downloads does it have on Spotify?
Actually, let me see.
How does it compare? I want to know if it has more or less than the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
$46 million is all. It's behind.
Okay.
We got a gem here. The deep
That's
cut.
not nothing though.
No, it's not nothing. Especially when you look at he only has one other song that gets 1 million plays. All of them are mostly in the few 100,000. So,
And the name of the song one more time is
Eve of Destruction, Barry Maguire. Dude, it's a banger. I'm telling you. I think you'll really like it. It was enough to get high school kids that don't care about that stuff at all. Like, damn, this song's pretty good, actually.
So when you say he played it, he wasn't up there playing it on an
No,
acoustic
he's
guitar.
just like, for whatever reason, it's like, all right, we're going to play a song that really speaks to the times in America. And then
for a while there, I was thinking you had some really hip teacher that was up there. Like
he was
like
I'm
sitting
saying
on a stool.
He actually probably hit, it was probably actually even on a
Yeah.
cassette, and he probably hit play.
Oh, yeah.
And then it got to the point where like kids would request him to play the song, and you know, he'd say no, but then eventually he'd come around and play it. And yeah,
that's how our history teacher was with Band of Brothers. We would beg him for us to be able to watch Band of Brothers. He's like, fine. I didn't really want to teach today anyways.
Probably the only piece of like more modern anything we got to watch was we watched Schindler's List in
I've never actually seen. I know a decent bit about Schindler's List
Yeah,
just from pop culture,
I mean,
and I've never actually seen it.
not a feel good movie. If that's true.
right.
Good movie.
Well, I've
though.
also
Good
been
movie.
to I've been to the Holocaust Museum.
I mean, yeah, it's
not,
that you know, it's that same feeling.
right. Yeah. But enough about the Holocaust.
Right, moving right along. Transition.
Transition. I got a little a quick tidbit here.
Oh,
You thought you were so fancy over there on your high horse. Well, you're not the only one that's fancy on your high horse.
he did it, dude.
You're not the only fancy
Okay, do you have a
one.
black phone though? Is that a black phone?
Yeah.
I actually went. Well, it doesn't really matter because you put a case on
That's
it. I
what I
actually went with natural titanium this year.
I talked.
I can't believe you don't have a case on that right now.
Well, it's just because I literally have. So I'm not going to buy a case from the cell phone store because
plus
I'm
they
not
sell
a sucker.
bad ones too.
There's a sucker born every minute, but I like to think it wasn't me. So I'm not buying one at the cell phone store. And I'm like, I'll run over to Walmart and get one. And I've legitimately been so busy that I have not had a chance to do that. And I do not like it. It is scary not having a case on this.
My phone actually sat here for almost 2 days in the box because I didn't have a case, and I was so afraid to take it out of the box out of the case, so I had to keep it on hold. But initial thoughts, I mean, have you got to do anything with it?
Here's what I've had it for like 3 days.
Oh, you have? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here's my initial thoughts. Color doesn't matter because you throw your a case on the phone immediately.
Does not.
That's what's funny thing. Like, why does it come in 4 colors? Everyone puts a case on their phone.
Yep.
Don't even bother.
No,
just make it in black.
In certain lights, like the camera bump is like my camera bump has more of a gray background and yours has a black one. That's about all you get.
Other notes, super annoying when all my apps, I have to re-enter passwords into every single thing that I use.
Password manager, man. It does it all for you.
Well, I do have a password manager, but not the right one apparently.
Okay.
I think I use LastPass.
Yeah, I do. I don't use that one.
Yeah,
so
that one apparently didn't do that. The other notice, absolutely nothing. I couldn't possibly.
I mean, is your battery any better?
Yes, actually, yes.
Okay.
The battery is better. I can last a full. This will be my 3rd day in a row where it goes from morning to night, and I never plugged it in. So yes, that is the best part of it. And I say that all to say I'm still glad I did it, and because also I got rid of a 3-year-old piece of hardware and got a brand new piece of hardware. So I feel like you're playing a gamble at a certain point. That
it is because you never know next year if they're going to offer that or not. And they've already made it worse. 2 years ago, it used to be they'd lock you in for 2 years. Well, now they lock you in for 3 years. So next year, do they lock you in for 4 years? Like you never know.
But that's my biggest thing. It's almost shocking how little there is for them to do with this anymore.
Have you noticed the dynamic island at all? Has that have you noticed little things going on?
I'll tell you what I notice. My swiping up off the bottom of the screen, like to close out of an app and go back to the home, is not like there must be something about the way I swipe my thumb when I do that. It does not do it as easily.
Oh, really?
Like a lot of times I'm like, get off of there.
Oh, I haven't had any issues with that at all.
Yeah, like this, that.
Yep.
So what's the dynamic island?
That's your little, so you have the black hole punch out on the top instead of the notch.
Yeah.
And like, let's say, here, do this right now.
Like if I'm listening to a podcast, I see it pops up in there
here's
now.
another little thing. Like, let's say you go into the Do you ever set timers for yourself ever?
I use this as my like alarm.
Yeah, I always set timers for myself because I'll get wrapped up in something and I'll forget. So like if I go to the timers app and let's say I hit a timer for 5 minutes and I hit play, hit the timer to go. It's kind of cool in the dynamic island up there. It puts the timer on the sides of it so you can see that it's actually going.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I don't use that, but I mean, yeah, I see. Because I've noticed it on like my podcast or like whatever I'm listening to.
There, yeah.
Well, it'll do the little like what our board does over here, where it shows you the levels. Like I don't know if they're true levels or if it's just like.
But it does indicate that something's happening.
Yeah,
like,
so it shows that something's being played. From it.
I started.
The battery is definitely better though. That's a good
that's
point.
A big one.
That's my favorite part.
I actually on this one, my home screen. Are you just a straight up? Do you do widgets or anything on your home screen?
No.
I actually started. I used to only put the weather widget on just so I could see, you know what I'm saying, where you can see like more of the weather. It'll show you stuff.
Yeah.
I did one. I actually like it for MacroFactor where now it just gives me like a little, it gives me like a gauge right there. So I can just look down on my phone and be like, oh, I'm at 160 grams of protein for the day and 280 grams of carbs. And like, again, not that it really saves me a lot of time, but I don't have to like open up the app and start digging around. Like I can just look down at that and know right away, like, what should my next meal or snack be planned around? So, but that's not really, that has nothing to do with the phone. That's just a widget thing. So
the camera interface, I see there's a lot more options.
Yeah, they've changed a lot on that.
To me, actually, I'm like, okay, great. You made something really simple, and now there's like an overwhelming number of options of meat that I have to pick from here.
That does bring up a good point. There's one feature I use a ton. Are you familiar with the action button on the side? Have you messed with that at all?
That's the camera button?
No. We're saying the action button here. It's not a switch anymore for your mute. It used to be a switch. Now that is a button, you can change that to whatever you want it to do.
Oh, okay.
So like right now for me,
I didn't know that.
Very handy. I go like this, hold it down, boom, flashlight, just like that.
Oh. So that's that top button.
Yeah, and you can make that button do anything. Like there's built-in settings, but then you can build shortcuts to make that run things or do things. And then there's the camera button on the side, which I always kind of forget exists, but that would be about it for the hardware pieces.
The guy was telling me that all phones are going to have removable batteries soon, including the iPhone. Have you ever heard that?
I mean, I've heard people say things like that. I think
Is it?
I don't think he's. Well, I mean, technically, the iPhone does have a remove. It just depends on what's your definition of removable, like user removable or tech like serviceable removable.
Right, right.
Because these ones are, as far as that goes, because like the whole right to repair and all that. People are coming under fire for like, all right, they just make stuff that's irreplaceable now, like you can't fix it.
Right.
And supposedly these, like they've done a ton of things to like make these ones more repairable where like, you could take them apart significantly easier and replace a battery if you wanted to than what it was before. I'm not sure I buy the idea that, they're all going to have like batteries that you can detach in and out because that would require, like I think, some laws changing
too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think some people want their phones to be like these 5-pound bricks to be like, it can do anything. And I'm like, well, but most people get rid of it after a couple of years. So like, does it really need to do all that stuff?
The other thing I noticed that, I mean, obviously you had pointed this out and I knew to it, but the
USB-C.
first night I would lay down and, this was at 10:30 p.m. I lay down, go to plug my phone in like I normally would. And I'm like, oh yeah, wait,
we're not charging
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that'll be tomorrow's problem.
See, and I use the MagSafe charger on the back. I do the wireless charging, but where it hit me was I went to go plug it into my car to listen to a podcast. I'm like, oh, can't do that right now. I need to go to the store and get a 3.5, an aux cord that ends in a USB-C cable. I guess that's what I need to do.
So overall, it was very, very cheap to do.
Yeah. Did you have to change your plan or anything, or were you able to mostly stick to what you had?
I had to change the name of my plan.
Okay.
My bill got $10 per month cheaper.
Yep.
So I was like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I was like, kept being like, so what's the catch?
Yeah.
Well,
the catch is if you've had Disney Plus for free before it's gone.
Right. I mean, and I didn't care about that, so that didn't matter. So yeah, actually my plan got $10 a month cheaper. And I was like, all right, good.
It sounds
I'm
like,
oh no, lock me up for 3 years. I'm like, check and see how long I've been a customer here. He's like, 20 and a half years. And I'm like, okay.
what's another 3? Throw it on the pile.
That's it. He laughed. He's like, 20 just over 20 years.
Well, and I don't, and I also don't,
Like, what's my alternative?
that's what I don't know if people get is like where we live in the middle of nowhere. Like cell service is good. Like having good cell service is important. And I don't know, like I guess some of the cheaper options maybe use the same towers, but I'm like, you know what? When I'm driving to Aberdeen from Sioux Falls at like 11 o'clock at night, like the last thing I want to worry about is like, is my cell connection working? You know, that's
The other thing, it sounded like now this plan is truly unlimited in the sense that it's not, they don't throttle you down at all at a certain point. It's unlimited and not throttled down. That's what he's told.
Well, I think they do after a certain number of gigabytes, but
okay, they're still, so it's just a higher number then or something. Probably.
Yeah. I think it's like after like 30 gigs, like
okay.
There is some fine print there, but again,
like
unless you're actually trying to do like some insane stuff on your phone, like not sure you'd ever hit that.
Right. So that's cell phones.
It sounded like after in the Discord, there was some talk that after our conversation about this a week or two ago, that several people did the same thing you did and made the upgrade. And now you've done it too.
Well, I was worried. I'm like, well, if I don't do this, then I'm going to get off the schedule of knowing when Tommy gets a new one. Because if we didn't go by that, I'd be like, I'm not sure when I get it. Like,
how many years has it been? Has it been 1 or 10?
Yeah. And I'm don't want to do any research on the phones. So you're like, nah, it's a pretty good time now. And I'm like, yeah, sounds like a good time. And then if I wait a year, all of a sudden it's like, well, that's not the newest one, or the deal's different.
Or you don't want to be the dummy that upgrades in the middle of the year, 6 months in. That's the wrong time to be doing it.
And it was really cheap.
Yeah.
Like it actually pays for itself because of my plan going down within less than a year and a half. It actually pays for a Classic couldn't afford not to.
I still don't know why. I literally got $1,000 trade in. Like it actually cost me $0. I mean, like a $30 transaction fee or whatever they do. But yeah,
35.
Too cheap to pass up.
I made him go over every little bit of the because I had him transfer it for me there. So we had some time, and I'm like, no, I want to understand this exactly. Like, I don't want it to be when you say, okay, here's what you pay.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be $80 more than what we said. Like, tell me what I'm like,
I spent way too many hours crunching those numbers and actually making spreadsheets, comparing stuff. Cause I'm like, I still don't trust them at the end of the day.
I made him go every detail so that and then it's like the $35 fee that you were talking about. You can't. That was the one thing they wouldn't let me pay for there. They
really?
That has to go on your next bill. I'm like, fine, I'll allow that.
Yeah, you guys, you won this time. Damn it.
Yeah,
our guest has arrived, Tanner.
All right, while you kick everyone off, maybe I'll do a little supporting our supporting members.
Yeah, let's do it.
Big Sam Brown competed multiply 2,100 pound total PR. Big old total for Sam Brown. Congrats there. Big Ryan, Jackton Ginger, competed. He had a 540 squat PR along with a 352 bench and a 579 deadlift. Big Bremy Strong, competed in his first powerlifting meet. Congratulations.
Yeah.
He had a 1086 total. Good job getting out there and competing.
All PRs when you're on the platform for the first time.
That's right. Big Jonty in Australia got second place in his meet in the 105 kilogram class, and along with a squat PR. And then Big Cam, congrats. He bought his first set of vintage weights.
Ooh. Yeah, I saw those. What were those called again?
I can't remember. I think they were called vintage weights.
It said right on them, vintage weights.
Yeah.
All right. Should we let our guest in?
Let's do it. Speaking of that, let me introduce our guest here, Big Angelo Fortino, for the maybe second or kind of third time on the podcast, possibly, because I think you're on as a guest, and then we also did a mock draft one time with you and Big Steve, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't qualify as a mock draft. That was about as real as it can get.
That was just a real draft.
A real draft.
Yeah, I forgot who I drafted. Honestly, they're on my team now. Whoever I drafted is on my team.
Yes, correct. So third appearance on the Massenomics podcast. Big Angelo host of Two White Lights podcast, powerlifter, former USAPL powerlifter, now a Powerlifting America powerlifter, competitive at the national world level, and he's back in the saddle again. So, first of all, I just listened to your most recent episode of Two White Lights. So, what's going on with Two White Lights?
One, thank you for having me on again. I appreciate it. I like to think I'm the league leader of being on Massenomics. I'm not going to check the stats on it. I'm just going to claim it.
There's several 3. I don't know if there's many 4s.
4's very. I mean, 3 isn't common either, but 4's very rare. Yeah.
So tied for the league lead. There you go.
Yes.
Great. So we discussed it on Two White Lights, just what's going on with Two White Lights. And since we started the podcast, which is around 2020, things have changed a lot for Steve and I. I would say more so for me. With my job in 2020 was more as a substitute teacher. And I'm sure you guys had substitute teachers in your life. They have a lot of time on their hands.
From what I remember, they don't really need to prepare at all. They literally just have to show up, and that's all.
Got to know how to hit the play button on the VCR.
You are your cool uncle. That's pretty much
yeah.
Like, you're responsible enough to watch over kids, but it's like, should you have your own kids? Probably not at this point, but we'll get there. But that's what you are as a sub. So Two White Lights was really able to take off. And with Two White Lights, it's like coverage of meets, recaps, previews, breaking news stuff. And, we had to be on our phones a lot. We had to be on Instagram a lot. And then it kind of opens up to where Instagram is part of our lives and social media is part of our lives and content creation is part of our lives. And then about a year ago, I graduated from cool uncle to actual person who has responsibility and needs to teach kids. So that occupied a lot of my time. And then also with being a competitive powerlifter, elite level powerlifter, and along with I'm doing high school powerlifting coaching too, teaching myself and all that, just was hard to do Two White Lights the way we did Two White Lights. So Steve and I always spoke about, we acknowledge that we need to do something with the show because we love doing it, but it was starting to become pretty difficult to just do the extensive meet coverage of powerlifting. And also, we discussed on Two White Lights, the landscape has changed a little bit in powerlifting, where it's not as easy to do the recaps, and also just not as not what it once was, because it does come somewhat repetitive, and lifters are starting to tune out of us doing the recaps and previews. And what Steve and I always really want to do is just, I'm not going to say similar to what you guys do, because you kind of cornered the market of fitness random conversations. But
that's a very polite way of putting that.
That's literally the nicest thing anyone has ever said.
That actually is
us.
The nicest way anyone's ever put this. Yes.
All right. I'm happy about that. But we wanted to kind of just speak off the cuff about things in powerlifting and fitness. And then if you tune to last episode, that's kind of what Steve and I really do want to do, is just talk about things. It's going to keep people somewhat informed on powerlifting. It's not a sports podcast where someone's covering all the major sports, all the major news stories, because, you're always going to get content that way. Powerlifting doesn't really yield that. So doing it less, potentially once a month, and having those conversations, I think is just going to be more enjoyable for Steve and I. Then also, I think the loyal Two White Lights fans appreciate that a little bit more at the root of it, of just having those conversations where we're talking about powerlifting, and then all of a sudden we get into a weird tangent about how much Matt Eberflus sucks and the Bears organization is trash, and it's painful watching them. It's like being waterboarded every week. And then we get back on to talking about the 83s.
Right. Okay, so Tanner and I, we both think of you and Steve as if we ever really needed to know what was going on in tested powerlifting, you guys would be like our are on the scene reporters. Like we know you guys know what's going on. So when you say you feel like the what was the word you used? Like the scene has changed, or the way people think about it has changed a little bit. Like what? I mean, do you have anything specific where that comes to mind when you say that?
Yeah, the split between
okay. I didn't know if it was just that or if there was more to it than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like that was a big part of Two White Lights too. Like we had a lot of our really popular episodes was because of that split. We gave our takes on it. I think we gave praise to both federations and also a lot of criticisms to both federations. When I talk about both federations, I'm talking about USAPL and IPF. And then when Powerlifting America was introduced, you know, we're honest about things. We criticized them, but also we gave them their props when they did something good. And now it's like kind of clear what's happening. USAPL is pivoting in this strange direction that we kind of hate, where they're getting into more international powerlifting, and I don't think that's going to work. Where I think the focus should be at the local level, because as a high school powerlifting coach, that's where USAPL helps. Is I get to get my kids into powerlifting meets because USAPL is pretty accessible to them. And we think that should be more their focus. And now it's just simply we're focused on Powerlifting America, IPF, which is good, but also you get these massive gaps where we'll have podcast episodes about people's. If we do have regular podcast episodes, it's about what they're doing on Instagram, like what's their gym total right now, what's going on, and potentially what they said on Instagram or on another podcast. Which, if you want, we'll give reactions about what somebody said on another podcast. It's like a meta,
right? Yeah,
going on.
We've also decided to stop doing preview and recap episodes of. We actually, you could look somewhere in the back catalog. We did that probably I would say maybe if you looked in 2018 or 19, we did a couple recaps of some of the bigger untested meets at say it was maybe the first Kern or something like that. And this might be 100% my own, just maybe change in my own mind track over that last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, the way it shifted. But that feels to me like it'd be drastically less interesting now if we tried to do that. There wouldn't be as many stories to follow. And I just don't know, here's what I'd say. I like powerlifting just as much as ever. And especially you said at the local level, I enjoy competing in it. I enjoy all the things that come out of it and stuff. But some of the stuff on the bigger level have for some reason become slightly less interesting to me at times. And that just might be a personal thing of mine, but I'm not sure if maybe other people experience a shift like that too.
Yeah. I mean, no, I think I've experienced that too, especially at the higher level. I mean, I think a little bit more my perspective on it, just I am a competitor first.
Right.
I do love the content creation. I do love talking about powerlifting. And I am more deeply involved in powerlifting now than I was at any point because like I said, I'm coaching it, I'm competing, and that's a lot of my life. A lot of my life is dominated by powerlifting. More so than it was, I think, when I was just doing Two White Lights and powerlifting. So I get that what you're saying, and it is harder to create stories, but then also as a competitor first, this is kind of the funny things that continuously happens where I make a prediction on a preview show, which, by the way, there needs to be a separation of that media because I would commentate a lot of these meets too. Then I would, what I predicted. So it just doesn't really work that way. Joe Buck isn't on podcast saying he thinks the Cardinals are going to win, and then he goes and commentates the Cardinals game. It's not a good dynamic. Then it slightly pisses off lifters, but then they, and it's all good content, right? They're listening to the show, they're getting pissed off at what we say because you're speaking honestly. But then they see me at a meet and they're like, "Hey man, you were wrong." Then I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
I'm competing soon. I don't care about the other thing that I got wrong. I want and then I at USAPL Nationals, I remember I won USAPL Nationals, and people were chirping me in when they won or when they got second or third or something in my DMs. I'm like, I easily can just shut you down right now and be like, well, I won. I don't care I was wrong about your second place finish when you got like, or I said you're going to finish third, you got second. I won. So I could easily brag about that right now. And it's just so weird being also a competitor. And then Steve is in a way worse position because he's possibly just like killing any chances he has of getting after.
Right. He doesn't want to piss off half of his potential pool of clients there. Yeah. What do you teach?
History.
History. Okay.
What kind of history?
U.S. history this year, world history, and I also I'm a social science major with an emphasis in history, so I could also teach like political science, econ, sociology, psychology, and this year I'm doing econ and government too.
Speaking of history, do you know much of anything about the wreck of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I love those questions. Yeah. I love when people when you're a history teacher, they're like, hey, can you tell me about this one event? Like what's happened?
Let me pick of all events in all of time and you pick one. Yeah. Of course, yes, I know about that too.
It's like I start off every world history year. It's like, okay, so we're starting with chapter 1, which is early humanoids, and then we have to get to now.
And we have a couple months to do it.
So my follow-up question to that is, who do you think is the strongest powerlifting teacher?
That random Korean guy.
Okay, no, I don't know.
And that's his handle, by the way.
Okay. Okay.
It's also a pretty meta handle too, because when he he put up this crazy total in his USAPL South Korea meet where he tied Ash, and he's one of the best powerlifters in the world in that weight class, and he was in the Arnold Pro Finals. He's just ridiculous, and yeah, he's an English teacher, and I was really pissed off to find out he was the English teacher.
Okay, because Jen Thompson also a teacher.
I was going to say that was my number 2.
Is Heather Connor a teacher?
She was.
Okay.
She was elementary. I remember that.
Yeah. So several of you, though.
Yeah. There's a decent amount in education and also power lifts, but
I noticed there's in powerlifting, I think, isn't there a firefighters or police officer division thing? Maybe there
should be a teacher division.
I should petition for a teacher division.
Yeah. That's actually
more medals.
Teacher nationals. I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah, USAPL teacher nationals.
I wonder that's
it's got a certain ring to it.
Yeah, I'm actually just trying to figure out the graphics for it in my head right now.
It's like a barbell and a ruler crossed in the background.
Yeah, maybe apples at the end of the barbell
that'll be the medal. Yeah. Medal. It's a golden apple on it. I'm actually wondering what subjects teachers, powerlifting teachers, would do. I would think it would be heavily skewed towards history, because history is I get this stereotype a lot because people assume I coach football.
Right.
And I would love to. If my high school it's a very small charter school. If my high school had a football team, I would immediately be like, yes, please put me into this some way, somehow. But yeah, they're so do you coach football too? I'm like, all right, guy teacher, young-ish, in shape. You're he's either a history teacher and PE guy, or he's the history teacher, but he's really just a football coach. They just need to put him as a job in the school somewhere so he can't coach football.
Well, if I can add any to that statistic, I did have a middle school teacher that had done a few powerlifting meets in the 80s. He was also a history teacher, so...
My history teacher was a football coach also. So
no, it's a very true stereotype. It's not I'm not this is so unfair. What I would say I was a teacher, everyone just assumed I was a PE teacher. So I'm
right.
I guess maybe that stereotype. I get it. Obviously, it's fitness, and it would make more sense. But I don't know, because I do take pride in being a general education teacher.
Speaking of stereotypes, what's better? Which is the better sauce, Prego or Ragu?
I think it's Prego.
Prego, yeah. Prego
I think
or
it's
Ragu.
That's what
yeah.
I
It would
thought
be
it
terrible
was.
marketing if they named it that like terrible tomato sauce,
Yeah,
and they just
Prego.
named it that close. Either
Yes.
or.
So which is better?
I would say Prego for sure.
Okay, Prego.
The top one is Bertolli.
I was gonna wonder where Bertolli fits in there. I feel like that's that primo stuff, but you can still find it at most grocery stores.
I gotta look that one up.
Yeah, Bertolli is like, again, you would prefer fresh tomatoes, obviously, like that. It's actually not that hard to make pasta sauce, if I'm being completely honest. Like it's a relatively easy thing to do. But yeah, you're in a time crunch. Now you're not going to be able to make vodka sauce that quick. That's going to take a little more time. So Bertolli is kind of like the go-to pasta sauce when you're in a crunch.
What is the best actual kind of pasta sauce? Not talking brands here. We're talking the actual sauce itself.
Carbonara. I mean, it depends though. I mean, it's like you got to be like carbonara. I'm sure you guys have had pasta carbonara before. It's you got to like kind of cut out an evening to have that. You can't just be like, I'm just going to have this nice little hit. It kind of alters your night. It's heavy. It's a heavy pasta. So it's like not that common to just like eat for dinner every night. I mean, I'm just always a big fan of just fresh tomatoes, like pasta sauce with nice fresh tomatoes. And that's going to be your foundation. That's going to be the most consistent.
I've been on a big vodka pasta kick the last like year or so. It's really done it for, it gives you that break from like the more marinara type sauce to, something a little different.
Yep. Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of vodka sauce. Pasta alla vodka probably would definitely be on my Mount Rushmores of pastas.
Excellent additional segue. You're familiar with Mount Rushmore as a history guy. We're from South Dakota, so we're also a little familiar with Mount Rushmore. Got the 4 faces on there. We want to know your Mount Rushmore of powerlifting podcasts.
Oh man, that's a lot to choose from too.
Just try and think of 4.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it.
That's what I'm like, is there 4?
Actual podcasts. Oh man, actually with this answer, I might piss off people.
That's what I hope. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, I might have to be as like political on this as possible. I mean, I definitely have to put 2 white lights on there. I'm going to put 2 white lights on it. Then of course, Massenomics.
Oh, wow, we're here. You didn't have to say that on your podcast, but as long as you're here, then our listeners will be on your side at least.
Yeah, I want to make the cult happy.
Yeah. All right, we got our sound bite. Shut it down.
want to make the cult happy, but yeah, I mean, I'm thinking when I got into powerlifting, Massenomic, like your podcast was like the one that I think was just the most inviting out of all of them. Then you listen to it, it's like, okay, it's actual like podcasts. What was the one with Andy Huang and
John Hack?
No.
Well, Andy has had like 5.
Yeah, I know.
He had one with Brandon Allen where it was like,
Brandon Allen.
was that like the bro?
I forgot about that one. Wow.
Because all right, so
that was good actually.
So it depends. So like, I was expecting a thing out of the podcast. So when I started 2 White Lights, I started to get guests on. That's how I would research. I would listen to King of the Lifts. I was listening to you guys. I would listen to that one. And then I'm like, it actually, aside from your podcast, you guys actually had good audio. But the other 2, King of the Lifts and Broadcast, I'm like, I felt always like just like, okay, we have a trash podcast. Like that's how you start. I'm recording on my laptop. Right. And then I was like, how is my audio quality better than King of Lifts? I know I felt good about myself.
How are they doing it so bad? Are they doing that on purpose?
Dude, I totally forgot that podcast existed. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes. Yeah, it is the Broadcast. You are correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember I listened to it and Garrett Fear. I had Garrett Fear on 2 White Lights and I wanted to get some research on like what not to ask him or what to ask him or like where the conversation was going. I just listened to that one and yeah, I just remember the audio quality just not being the best.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just remember I forgot what Brandon said to Garrett. I'm like, that was the most off the cuff joke I've ever heard in my life.
Well,
And
Brandon
I'm
says a
so
little
proud.
off color things at times, I think.
Yeah, I'm no,
So,
yeah, it was incredible because it was just so random. Because he like came
yeah.
to the show, he's like, something about like a mother's mistake or something. It's like it's like because Garrett has a ton of like siblings. He's
Yeah.
like, what's your mother? It's like, or it's like, or what mistakes did your mother make aside from like not aborting you? And then I'm like, oh my god, brutal.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So you started with 2 8 lights,
Yeah, I
Massenomics,
did.
and you haven't really named it a third or a fourth yet.
Yeah, I know.
Specific.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I gotta go King of the Lifts on this one.
I wondered if you were going to
Um,
put them on or not. So that was
yeah. Oh, yeah. You're trying that. But here's the thing with King of the Lifts, and I mean, I spoke about this like at Great Lengths, my podcast too. I am wishing like it, and it seems like they are turning more into the professional podcast of powerlifting because with Two White Lights, I always wanted to be the alternative to the professional because I didn't want to do like the extensive meat coverage thing. Like that wasn't initially what I wanted to do with Two White Lights. But then as I was listening to King Lifts initially, I'm like, these previews can be a lot better. There's a lot of things left out. There's a lot of lifters being left out. There's a lot of analysis, and I don't think it was the most honest analysis. I think it was very nice. I think it was very impartial, and it just wasn't the best listening experience. And I said it when I initially came on your podcast. When we started doing meet coverage, their meet coverage improved because that's what happens when people do things. When people, get involved in the same thing and try to make it better, the other one improves as well. And then also they do, the interviews, they do the high volume of interviews more. And I do think it is like a news source for powerlifting, and Ryan does a good job of interviewing. Like that's his thing, is interviewing. He does a very good job of that specific thing. Granted, like I prefer what we do on Tour Lights when we have a person on. I just really want to talk to them and see if we can talk like competitor to competitor or competitor to coach, and that creates a different dynamic. But Ryan treats it like interviewer to an athlete, and that adds a different dynamic. So yeah, I like that one, and gonna go very political here and go power and lifting. Solana, because that's an extension of Two White Lights as well.
right.
Because Solana is the most unofficial co-host that we've ever had. So technically, we have two parts of Two White Lights on this Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
We are
Yeah.
dominating Mount Rushmore.
Bookending the mountain.
Yeah, bookends. Tommy, while we were talking, any others come to your mind? Really
there's other
curious,
podcasts, but I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Angelo, but for many, many years, actually when Massenomics first started, it was more blogging than anything. And we would routinely run an article of top 10 podcasts. And the joke has just turned into every year we'd have to just remove 8 of them off the list because they didn't exist anymore. And now it's gotten to the point where we kind of just quit updating the article because every year it's like, none of the other ones exist anymore. So I guess it's just all new podcasts every single year. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
It'd be a good one, Mount Rushmore of podcasts that don't exist anymore.
Well, that's actually a better, I like that.
Well, and also if you're if you are saying historically, I mean the Powercast would make
that's
for
that's kind of what got me into all of this was that.
Right,
that was the first podcast I regularly listened to and everything, so that it would be hard to leave that one off the list. I'm just trying to think of Beers with Chad. Like I liked his.
Oh, that's true. Juggernaut
Juggernaut when Max was on there too. Like I used to listen.
That was really good. That was actually
week.
really, really good for a few years there. That was I really enjoyed that for a while.
Because some episodes you'd have Chad talking in depth about coaching and mindset things, and then other weeks he'd just be going off about 49ers football and beer and whatever else. And I always enjoyed that. And then like you were saying, the Brocast, and then the other one, what was it? like I saw it pop up here. Was it Two Bros, One Shaker Cup when it was Andy Huang and John Hack?
Andy then after that also started another one with another I can't think of his name, another untested lifter that was setting some world records there for a while. Then, after a while I'm like, you're recording fewer episodes of each subsequent version of your podcast. It's like, by the next one, we're literally just recording one until we move on to the next name. And like each time there would be a new graphic with new, like cool art and like a cool cover. And then they would fizzle. It's tough to keep it going for a long time. I mean, obviously you understand that too.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I agree. And that was the reoccurring joke too, like with people creating podcasts, like, if it wasn't said publicly, it was definitely said privately in people's group chats of like, how long is this one going to last?
Right.
Well, I mean, that's when anytime any podcast starts, because let's be honest, most of them don't last very long at all.
Like when you guys have changed, sometimes you've gone longer without recording them. Do you get many people asking you are they like, when the hell's the next episode? Because people get in the habit of listening to a podcast and then they're like, hey, you owe us that podcast now. Like, do you get any messages about that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it was when we just started kind of slow down the frequency of podcasts and just the uploads. And on top of that, like, I think we did some good updates on the show of like last year. I'm like, I'm not going to be recording very often because like Steve and I we technically only have one day to record. This is right now when I'm recording this podcast, this is past Steve's bedtime. Like this is the only time I really have available to record. And I'm like, when you guys told me 9:15, I'm like, oh yeah, it's actually a time.
That's when we record always. Yeah. We're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah. And Steve, like, he's like, no, and also Steve is like such a regimented person. And he's very good at, if he doesn't want to do something, he's not gonna be like, forced to say yes. People just say yes because they're so nice.
Yeah.
He'd be like, no, I'm not doing it. All right. Well, okay. And yeah, so like and it explains a lot about him and probably why he's probably more of the trusted guys in powerlifting as far as like business stuff goes. So that probably like tells you a thing, like you need to say no and actually to get things done. But yeah, we had the updates on the show. Like it's going to be really hard to record with the amount of time I work and then Steve's schedule. And, we only have Thursday to record. And if anything comes up, we can't record on that day. It's like, that's the day we have. So yeah, and I think people listen and kind of understood and knew. But like also the long gap helps too, because
then you got a lot to say.
We have to recap. There's not a meet. We have to preview. There's not a reaction thing we have to give. There is a lot of things though, like in powerlifting that I missed out on where I'm like, oh, I would have loved to talk. Like that IPF post about like how you should train women.
Yeah, right.
And it was like they're pretty much saying that they should be like it was. I mean, it was if you just remove the word woman and just put dog, it would apply to both ways. Like, give them treats when they're happy.
Did anything really ever come of that, or was it just like, oh, our bad? Okay, like was that it?
Most of how IPF reacts to things is doing that. They're just like some things were lost in translation, and then they like show like 10 more slides and just get progressively worse. Like they're just like I don't think everything was lost in translation, but in fairness, a woman did create those slides, so it's not total misogyny by They only did that for other things, like when they had the International Women's Day posts, and they gave women like 3 jobs. Like women are not only our housewives or our teachers or secretaries, they're also lifters.
It's like thanks.
What did they do again? Secretary.
Yes. Who's gonna win the next Sheffield? Who's the favorite to win the next Sheffield?
Ooh, man, with the training, I don't know if you guys know with I always mispronounce his name, and it's been told to me like 800 times. But Cajal, I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Okay.
cutting down to 66, and his total that he's putting up in the gym looks insane for a 66 kilo lifter. And he could obliterate that 66 kilo record. So he looks like the favorite right now. Going in, Perk would definitely be up there. Some of what the 83s are doing. Ash was kind of thought about the favorite, but Cagel's kind of right now. If he can make that weight cut happen and then retain things, he's nasty right now. Then on the women's side, Agata is just a Terminator. She's insane. And then also the super heavyweight women too are beasts. They're awesome. Like you're gonna get a really good matchup there with Sonita, Brittany, and Alexis. It's just they can really push each other into going past the world record. But yeah,
That's good.
maybe a mini Sheffield preview.
That's good. Is Taylor Atwood kind of making a comeback?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm actually really curious.
Do you kind of like to poke the bear on him on occasion, or
about me or
yeah,
you?
like I've just heard you kind of.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love to. I mean, it's not necessarily poking the bear. It's just I always acknowledge how good of a lifter he is. Sometimes on social media, though, I'm like, good Lord.
What would you say? Would you say he comes off as like what? What would you say he comes off? How would you describe it sometimes on social media?
You guys know Russell Wilson?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Like
I
so.
mean,
like what? I mean, is it like cheesy, corny,
Yes.
that sort of thing? Like that? Yeah. Right. Right. That's
Yeah.
what you would say, kind of.
He's a phenomenal. All right, he's a phenomenal lifter. He's all these things. He's got incredible accolades. You're just corny on social media.
Yeah.
I can't have two white lights and me be on social media and be dry and sarcastic about everything on social media without pointing out the obvious. Like, it was never like, I was never a person like, oh, he's washed. I'm like, no, he's not washed. What he needs is just kind of a change in direction because people in powerlifting call like 34 years old, and it makes me like feel bad because I'm 31. So I'm like, I get called old all the time by
ticking.
Yeah.
a crop of 22-year-old lifters at the gym who, they're on their 19th pair of ins or knee sleeves because they need to get tighter and tighter pairs so they can get 5 kilos out of their squat that's low bar to their tailbone. And I'm called old by them, So and then I'm not cynical or jaded at all. But yeah, so like people are calling him washed. I'm like, absolutely not. Taylor Atwood is not washed. 34 years old is not the age to be washed. He doesn't have a snap, doesn't have a tear, doesn't have surgery. He's a guy who just had injuries and he's overcoming those injuries. And, he's going up a weight class and that's kind of changed the direction. And he had a ridiculous meet at 83. So I'm going to be competing against him. That's actually really exciting. Like the fact that I'm going to be competing against him at nationals for a guy that going into the sport definitely was one of my role models. Always share the story just on Two White Lights, how cool it was to be drug tested with him after he had that 838 total. And I didn't really realize he had an 838 total because I was competing at the same time as him. And I was like, when I was in the drug, that's where I found out was like getting drug tested. And I'm like, oh my, best powerlifting performance in history in many people's eyes. So it's cool to be, competition with him. But yeah, his social media game it just makes me giggle sometimes. And he just says things that are sometimes blatantly incorrect. And it speaks more volumes of me because I could just let everything go, but I don't, It's like, I just don't let it go. It's like, it's totally on me on why it could bother me. I forgot what it was. I just had it at all right. So what did it, I always have a pet peeve no matter what. And I probably happens to me on occasion of when lifters are good and people are influenced. So everything they say is pathetic and funny Great. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. It's not always like that. And
Right.
when I see people do it, I'm like, no, this wasn't deep. This wasn't funny. You're saying that because this is a popular person. I'm like, this was
Right.
not funny at all. It was not a deep, insightful thing. I've seen
Right.
way deeper, way more insightful things from people who have a less of a following, and that's kind of what I got out of it. It's like you start
Just
to
a little
buy
bit of
into things.
fanboying sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start to buy into it. Like you start to buy into social media, and I never like that. Whenever anyone has done it, like when people start buying the social media, I'm like, that's the time to stop being on social media and start experiencing life around you. Because yeah, it's not real life. And I remember one time Steffi Cohen released the unfunny. It was the not. I can't even describe how unfunny this was. Because I can't describe the scene, the scenario. It just wasn't funny. It was in promotion of their cool clothing hybrid when they made cool clothing,
Yeah.
and I just saw the comments of like cry face emojis. I'm like, that was so not funny, and I'm pissed off that you guys aren't acknowledging that it's funny.
Well, but
Right.
that is what it is. Like, it's 100% true. I mean, to most people, we're probably not funny. I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe we're kind of funny, but I get it. We're probably not funny to most people. But I think if anything, like social media has done is it made a lot of people think that they're really funny. And it's like, no, actually you just have like a lot of yes men in your life. Like you're not actually funny. Like if no one knows who you are and saw that, they'd be like, no, it's not funny at all. And I'm like, if that's not funny to just a random person, then it's not funny. Like if it's only funny to your people, you just have yes men in your life. And like social media has amplified that to like 1,000 for people.
Yeah, for sure. And most of my friends are within powerlifting, but then you're in your friend groups who aren't into powerlifting, and then like say they ask you about it or like something's happening in powerlifting, they ask about it on social media, and you're just like, I can't explain this without you being completely lost or bored. And but at the same time, this is what me and my friends are talking about who are in powerlifting. But I'm like, if I share this with you, you're just kind of gonna you look at me like, so
Yeah.
Trust character, like what's
Is this serious? Like, do people actually?
Trust character had a clothing brand and it is no longer a clothing brand, and people are mad. Like the gist of it, I guess. It doesn't sound that cool when you say it like that, but powerlifting's up in a frenzy. Have you seen like the comments? And then the comments are just like totally unfollowable, and you have no idea what's happening. So yeah, it's probably more when you start interacting with people who are not interested in the world that you're in. It's not that funny. But I think it's still one of those things of like even within my world, this sometimes things aren't funny, and yeah, the yes men and the nut huggers.
Yes. Yeah.
I honestly can't stand it. Like it's a very annoying thing for me.
That's good. Tommy, what do you think? Overrated, underrated, or
Let's do it.
Okay, Angelo, you're familiar with the game. Overrated, underrated. We got a hand-picked set of topics just for you, and it's your job to decide if each one is overrated, underrated. But you have to remember you can't ride the line. You have to definitively decide each one. So
you should never invite people to ride the line on the show again.
That's exactly right. Yes, they're kicked off for good. So we kind of even touched on this a little bit. Overrated or underrated? The ultra super stiff knee sleeves that have come around in the last few years.
Oh, they're insanely overrated. I would just slam an overrated button if I had one by me. You guys need to invest in an overrated button.
Yes.
I mean, that would be a good kick to the show, but
Yeah.
If I see another person like needing to buy the new pair of stiff knee sleeves, it's so, and if I have to see a person like take 8 years to put them on and take them off, I just can't. I can't bear to watch it because those same people make fun of a quick powerlifting.
Yeah,
True.
that is
That's
the
true.
ultimate issue with it is you can't make fun
Right.
of equipped powerlifting and then also be like, yeah, I got to size down and get stiffer ones.
Yeah. I never tried them on, but there's no way that they're going to help. I'm so not thinking about rebound out of my squat. Like, just, yeah, I just can't. I just don't see how that would make my squat better. And also, if it doesn't make my squat better, it probably doesn't make your squat better.
So
Probably
overrated on the stiff knee sleeves. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Overrated or underrated Caleb Williams?
Oh, I hate you. It's actually right now potentially underrated because I think everyone collectively thinks he sucks. So that's the weird.
They're not talking about benching him right now or something, are they?
Yeah. So there was a report in the locker room, which this is pretty much how the season has gone so far, that a few of the veteran players have asked for Tyler Bagent to be the starter, which is
Travis Bagent's son. Champion arm wrestler. He's at the Arnold. Travis Bagent was at the Arnold this year too.
Have you guys had asked him to come on the show?
I don't have a line of connection with him. I think maybe I've shot a DM over Instagram, but to know, not a DM that's gotten seen. So we need someone with the connection to hook us up still.
Yeah. So he's a character. I don't know if you ever see like some of the stuff.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Big
But
time.
actually, it was a good segue into what I was about to say. This is the inside report on this one for the Bears is my brother Santino. So take it with a grain of salt on this news report, but apparently it was Tyler Bagent's dad who might have leaked that information out of that full. But again, that is coming from. So source is Santino Fortino. If this becomes a news story, if like ESPN picked up on Massenomics, and then this
Santino Fortino via Massenomics.
It's Massenomics crediting my brother.
All right.
So,
is the quarterback the issue with the Bears right now?
No. The Bears are the issues with the Bears right now.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the Bears exist as an organization is their biggest issue.
Have they played anyone in their division yet?
No, they're going to get absolutely destroyed by the Packers.
We're in South Dakota here, so we're in like
a bunch of Vikings fans.
We're in Vikings fans. I mean, there's a fair number of Bears fans, but also a lot of Packers fans too. Even actually a lot of Lions fans. We're just in that division up here, so we're living the life.
That's actually I never really thought. I would assume a lot of Minnesota fans, but I guess
there's a lot of Packers fans though too.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Oh, Packer fans travel, dude. Like moving to Houston, and like I remember I was just dejected just after a Bears game once. And it was when the Bears. It's stupid to say when they sucked because that's like the reoccurring theme, but they were exceptionally bad, and I was just at the bar. I was kind of alone too, just like watching the games. And one guy pulls up next to me, and I'm talking to my then girlfriend about how much the Bears suck. And then he's like, and he just interjects in the conversation and then starts, talking trash. And I look and he has a Packers hat on. I'm like, dude, I'm like, there's a lot of you in Illinois.
Yeah.
It's the Midwest and we all hate you. But now in Houston, like I thought I was far removed from at least like people making fun of me for being a Bears fan. And now, and I go like the school I work at, there's like 2 Packer fans. And I can't escape it. I always get mad. Like the Vikings and Lions, like they're divisional rivals, but I can tolerate the fans. I can't do it.
It's because
to be a Vikings, anything to Packer fans.
It's because to be a Vikings and a Lions fan, you just had to suffer through so much like shit
like
and mediocrity.
And
it's easy to be a Packers fan because for the last 20 some years you've had a Hall of Fame quarterback. So it's like it's easy. It's more of a fair weather fan thing,
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. We have no comeback. So like whenever a Packer fan makes fun of me, I can't say anything to a Packer fan. Also, on top of that, just between the rivalry between the Bears and Packers, Bears fans are definitely the toxic fan base. It's probably the bad guys in every situation. Just based on my experience, like we're pretty miserable, angry people. And Packer fans are really nice just in general. but like Bears fans are angry, but then when they get good, they're cocky angry. Like they're very in your face about being good, where Packer fans are just the Wisconsin-y friendliness to them. So it's also, that's another hard pill to swallow. It's like you're kind of on the wrong end of this, like the classless fan is usually the Bears
Right.
fan, but I'll wear that.
Right.
The Bears
Okay.
win one Super Bowl, I'm never not talking about it. But hold on, I didn't answer the question though. Caleb Williams, overrated.
Oh yeah.
Underrated. I'm just gonna say underrated. I'm gonna ride with Caleb Williams because that's all I have to do right now.
That's sound logic, actually. Okay, overrated or underrated? Semi-sumo deadlifts, or maybe you'd call it narrow sumo deadlifts. You know what I'm talking
the
about.
hybrid frog stance,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it. Those are overrated.
Overrated.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because only people ask about to do it, and there's like one person who does it consistently, and that's me.
Yeah.
So if it was a good thing to do, like if it was a thing to like everyone should do, then more people would do it. But it's not that common. You had Ed Cohen do it.
I was gonna say the other famous one would be Ed Cohn, right? Anyone else that?
Bob used to do an insane one.
Okay.
Bob Matthews used to do an insane hybrid. I would say Jamal Browner, he's not hybrid, but he's got not the super wide sumo. It's just not as narrow as mine. But yeah, it's you have to toy with your leverage, but just because you see someone do it, doesn't you have to understand like how leverages work. And yeah, I think that's the definition of overrated. Like people asking me questions on how to do it and people wanting to emulate it, and then you see no one really do
no
it.
one ever. Yeah.
And there's some really good deadlifters out there that don't do it at all. Like it's actually like Russ is a very influential person. Like he's got a great deadlift on him. He does conventional. Like does he force people to do conventional? I don't know, but everybody knows that. No, if you want to make the lift easier, you wouldn't do it at conventional.
Right. Right. So have you ever done experimented much with like extremely wide sumo deadlifting? You know, wider sumo deadlifting.
I just don't think I have the mobility for it. That's kind of just what happened when I started deadlifting. Was the comfort level I had sumo, because I started off like everyone else, like conventional, who didn't know what powerlifting was. That was the only way to pick up a weight. And then I saw people do sumo, so I tried to do the sumo that they did, and it just was okay, but it looked kind of strange. And I just felt more of a comfort putting my legs more or my feet more narrow. And yeah, I mean, I do wonder, like, because I think I'm at a point in my powerlifting career where it's like people are getting really strong, and you're going to have to start taking every advantage you can. And if there's a long off season, and if my coach is like, "Hey, let's experiment with this," I'm saying yes. Like, I'm not married to anything because of a gimmick or because of an image. I really want to.
No, you've got to be that. You've got to be the frog stance guy.
You are that guy.
Someone needs to carry that banner. If you stop, it might just die.
Yeah. Who knows? The foundations of this country. It's not the election. It's me doing frog stance. That's just me holding the nation together.
The country needs it.
I would like a graphic of you standing there, frog stanced, and like the American flag behind it or something like that.
No, me standing frog stance and me just holding the nation together.
Yeah,
yeah,
left and right sides
Really,
of the country coming together.
Your frog stance is really the only thing between us and a complete
Anarchy.
whatever that would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one, most important one. We saved the best for last. It's worth all the marbles. So overrated or underrated? Gabagool.
Oh, capicola. I still don't know how. I have a discussion with my students about this. I have no idea how capicola became gabagool. I know Tony Soprano said it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a New Jersey thing, but it's just not spelled anywhere close to that. Underrated. especially if you get like really good cured one. And what we do in my family, like we do the super soft every year. That's dry cured meat, and we do the capicola as well. Capicola we only have two, but that's definitely the one that everyone wants. And we don't do like lunch meat for sandwiches with that. We get it a little bit. We cut it ourselves a little bit thicker, and that's our antipasto. Or it's out of, and I mean it can get chewy, but that's with some nice bread, bocconcini with some olive oil and oregano on it. That's like, I want to say snack, but that's just like cholesterol up the roof. But I'm going to qualify it as a snack. It's just my favorite thing. When I go back to Chicago for Thanksgiving, I'm hoping to have just a little bit of that. It's so underrated because people only get it in like sandwiches now, and it's like it's a good lunch meat like in a sandwich, but alone, it's fantastic.
A gabagool hack.
Gabagool tips.
Well, I mean, you gotta. The only way that works though is if you like dry it and cure it yourself, and that's
outside my skill
That's
level.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole process. Like, it's a fun process. Like, it's always look forward to it every year. Just the process of getting the meat, putting it in the intestines, hanging it in your chentine, which every Italian has in their house, a wine cellar in the Midwest, where you crack the window, it gets cold, and then it hardens the meat like just naturally, and you just go in and get like, some pop or something, some things out of the fridge, and then you're just like hitting meat. Like just hanging meat all over and just hitting it, just like getting the stuff, and you're just closing it. You gotta put
Sounds like a dream come true.
Let's meat in my face.
Nice. Yeah, Steve would love that. Yeah, and then you have to put the blankets like on the that. It's always a task getting something out of the basement fridge. You gotta re-put the blankets on. You gotta make sure no air is getting in because that's what makes it watery. So yeah, it's
we can all relate.
Great news. You did it again. You just passed overrated, underrated. So congratulations.
All right.
Better than winning Nats, if you ask me.
I don't remember winning Nats. It happened so long ago. So yeah, I'm gonna say it.
Well, this is the new hotness then. So what is when do you compete against next? So we know when do you compete next? So we know when to cheer for you.
April 3rd through 5th. I don't know the exact dates, but I know it's that weekend. Yeah. So Powerlifting America Nationals.
Where's it at?
Atlanta.
Ooh.
All nationals.
Party in the city where the heat is on.
Hmm?
Party. Oh wait, that's Miami. What's Atlanta? Who's the famous rappers from Atlanta?
Ludacris.
Where to start?
Yeah.
Migos.
I mean, isn't that a hotbed?
Gucci Mane. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Okay.
A lot of the more new age.
Outkast.
There you go. Yep. There we go.
I did not know Outkast from Atlanta. Actually.
AT Aliens, man. They put
Oh, yeah.
they put Atlanta on the map.
I'm gonna be out. I'm gonna do overrated, underrated. Outkast, overrated.
No way. No.
Not a fan.
I think they're underrated. They're so underrated.
They got a couple like. I think it's. You ever see that sketch, Key and Peele, of Andre 3000?
No, I haven't.
Search it after. That's a perfect
Okay.
depiction of Andre 3000 to me.
All right, I'll have to look.
How they depicted him in that sketch.
What about this Andre 3000 underrated actor?
I like that. Yeah, he can act.
What's it? Four Brothers. Have you ever? Is that what the name is? That it's
The
with
Wahlberg.
yeah, with Mark Wahlberg, right? Is that what it? Isn't he one of the? Isn't he
Yeah.
in that? Okay, I was just googling it right now.
Well, I gotta.
And then the guy from Fast and the Furious 2.
Tyrese.
Yeah, right.
And then a white guy.
Yeah. You've never seen that, Tommy?
What one?
Four Brothers.
I know what movie it is. I've seen parts of it. I've never actually seen the whole thing.
And Andre 3000 also in semi-pro, right?
I
Yes,
think so. Yeah.
Black.
Yeah.
Or Sugar McDunkadunk. I forgot. Yeah, he had like he would change his nickname every like week or.
Sugar McDunkadunk.
Wait, actually, have you watched Four Brothers recently?
No, I
I'm
haven't.
trying to think if that was a movie I thought was good because I was like 13 years old.
Yeah, I think you
Or
might be
is
right,
that-
honestly.
Or
That
was it
might
like
be
the
right.
first Fast and the Furious movie, and it's like, oh,
I'm wondering if you're a spot on about that.
Yeah.
That's actually not good even.
Yeah, I'm like kind of like I remember there was a lot of action, but I don't know. The plot was a foster mom, I think, got killed, and those were the four brothers that she took in.
They all like were
they
coming
weren't actually
back
brothers,
then. Yeah.
and that's about all I remembered. Like,
There's like maybe gang activity or something like that. Yeah.
and then even though they were in Detroit, Mark Wahlberg probably had a Boston accent.
yeah, definitely.
Safe to say. Safe to say. Okay, so we'll be cheering for you in April in the 83s at Powerlifting Nats. We'll also be tuning into Two White Lights as you and Steve continue to talk more on your somewhat semi-new format. Anything else people should be checking out or tuning into?
Not really.
We'll do those. We'll just tell them to do those two things then.
Yeah, I guess.
cheer
you guys
for
want
you
to
in the
follow me on
83s.
Instagram?
Yeah.
You can do it. If you don't, that's cool too.
Angelo, 14-year-old powerlifter.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long time since someone has asked me if I was 14. That was good. That was always good. Are you the 14th powerlifter? Like, I doubt it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. We always enjoy it, of course. So it was good.
Yeah, absolutely. I love coming on. It's always a good time.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Angelo.
Tell Steve hi for us too.
I will do it. And can we get a soundbite that just makes fun of Steve, just really quick?
Steve,
Yeah.
you suck.
Yeah.
Damn it, Steve.
Yeah, Steve. And then if he
Steve,
didn't
you old
find
piece of
anything
shit.
that- this is my impersonation of Steve finding something not funny, and you want like some reaction out of him just to move on with the conversation. So you make a joke and he's just like,
Yeah.
and then you're just like,
Give me
Anything?
something. Yeah.
Anything?
first interview I had with him, I would like make a joke, and if he doesn't give the fake laugh, he doesn't give
Right.
he doesn't
Yeah,
go like he
Yeah.
just
Stone face, like, no, I'm not
Hey,
pretending.
he doesn't break eye contact.
Yeah.
And he just keeps there. I'm like, okay, all right, next.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny. But,
That's good.
Awesome.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Angelo.
man.
all right, see you,
Yeah.
boys.
See ya.
Cool beans.
Those are cellar cooled, hanging right next to the gabagool, hitting you in the face.
Gabagool!
Cool beans. Have you ever seen the Soprano song where they change it? It's like, woke up this morning and got me some gabagool. And they just say gabagool in the song like 100 times.
No, but I love it already.
Got me some gabagool. Yeah.
Because I do like that intro song to begin with. So, yeah. This episode is brought to you by our good old friends at The Strength Co. Check them out at thestrength.co. They have the best made in America Olympic iron plates that exist. They're black, E-coated. They're smooth, easy to grip. They have their lowest shipping prices ever right now, and that includes plates. It's actually shocking how cheap they can ship you a pair of 45s. I would say if you're a home gym owner and you haven't had any Strength Co. plates before, I would get yourself an introductory set. Buy yourself a pair. You pick the size, whether it's 10s, 25s, 45s.
Probably should get
Buy
some
a pair.
45s. Though.
Yeah, I'd buy a pair of 45s, try them out, and I dare you for that to be the only pair you ever buy. You'll get those and be like, I need more.
I need
more.
Try and stop yourself.
Yeah, you won't
Try
be
and
able
resist.
to. So check them out at thestrength.co.
This episode is also brought to you by Barefoot Shoes. It is getting to be late November here in the upper plains, and there's one thing that means. It means weather will be coming our way. And when you got some tough weather coming your way, you should head on over to barefoot.store and pick yourself up a pair of Bruin boots. So you have the best barefoot shoes available, but in a great winter option. Tanner and I have both been rocking the Bruin boots for last 2 winters, Tanner? I mean,
Yeah,
you go year round. You don't limit yourself.
Well,
just to
no,
winter
I've
time,
only
but-
been wearing the, especially after my ACL tearee, I've just only been wearing my barefoot, what are the low top ones?
The Ursus low top.
Yeah, I just wear those all the time.
Okay.
I wear those literally 24/7.
Did your
as
PT say,
slipper,
damn, those
as-
are some strong feet you got
My
there?
PT said every PT I have has asked me about the shoes.
You got like straight up
And I say barefoot shoes out of North Dakota. They're our friends. Check them out. Every single one of the PTs asked me about the barefoot shoes. Yes.
All right. Well, there you have it. Even the medical community is in awe.
And I don't even want to change shoes, so I'll go to work and I'll wear them, and then I'll just go to the gym, and I don't even take that pair off anymore. I just wear them, and then I'll go home, and I don't want to take them off, so they're just my slippers around the house.
Yeah, it's like the perfect shoe.
I take them off to sleep. That is it.
Well, there you have it. You never have to take them off besides to sleep.
If you insist on it.
If you insist. And you don't even have to do that. You can just wear them all the time. Barefoot.store. Use code Massenomics. You can get 10% off your next order of a pair of Bruin boots, Ursus high top, Ursus low top, anything they sell. Code Massenomics will save you 10%. Thank you, Barefoot Shoes.
Speaking of the Strength Co. and barefoot shoes, both, I saw Grant sent me a picture. He has that new boot, the Bruin boot.
Oh,
like
the
a different
Ursidae?
color.
Oh,
No,
or the Made in
it's
America
like
Bruin boot.
The Made in America.
Yeah, the Bruin Patriot.
Yeah, and it's like a different color brown.
Yeah, it's cut a little different too.
Yeah, it looked really sweet. I'm like, I need to get a pair of those.
It does. Well, it's $400 boot. 10% is going to save you $40 right there. So
That's
some
nothing to
savings.
shake a stick at.
Nope. Actually, put pen to paper. It's kind of hard to pass
That's
that
like
deal up.
$40 savings in your pocket that then you can then turn around and spend on something else.
Mm-hmm. Like a pair of Strength Co 45s.
That's my wife's thrifting logic. She says, this child's coat is normally $120. I got it for $20. That means we just made $100.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Like we just made $100.
Yeah,
it's like now we now have a free $100 to spend on
because
something
it has
else.
to be spent no matter what. Like
Right.
it's we just saved this. We literally just made money. So yeah, it
Like
has to
we
be accounted
just
for.
profited $100 that now is like house money that we can use for something else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, don't know if that's how that works.
My wife doesn't even think of any of that. She just goes, I bought this and I bought this. So that's what it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Knee update. I can get around I can go A to B without any crutches
Oh,
at
you
all
can?
now. So,
All right.
Not particularly fast, but I do sometimes bring a crutch with me if I'm going to go a long distance, but it won't be long, and I'll just going to throw those away and burn them.
Do you mean that in the metaphorical sense, like you bring a crutch with you, or are you saying a literal crutch with
Well,
you?
I have like a mental crutch that I take along everywhere with me at this point. But I mean, literally, I bring it along with me to work. But then once I get there, I'm not using it to go to the copier and that sort of thing.
Right. Okay. So things are progressing then.
Yep, go in the right direction. As
Do you
I
feel
like to say.
like was there like a day where like, okay, yeah, things actually are getting better, or is it just been a slow process?
No, it feels like it's always not getting better, and then slowly over time, it actually is getting better. That's it. It's like
So
one of those
nothing
things
ever
where
really
you
just
like
clicks.
No, it's never clicking. But then even just in the last couple of days, it has for a certain amount with the walking thing where I'm like, oh my God, I can support my body weight, and it doesn't feel good, but it doesn't feel like it's borderline catastrophic.
Yeah.
My control over my quad's getting a lot better. Although I did hit a new PR.
Oh.
This morning I'm in the 220s. This morning
Yeah.
this
What
morning
the
actually
hell is
has-
this about here?
This morning I weighed 229 even.
Oh my
229
God.
pounds.
Just withering away over there. Where does he stop at? Next stop, 198.
I don't know how far we're gonna take it.
But
But
they're gonna have to put you into PT just to say he's suffering. He's withering away.
I've not been in the 220s for a really, really long time. It
See-
feels weird getting on this, being like, wow, I weigh in the 220s.
See, and I would ask you a lot of questions here, but what's throwing this all off is you had knee surgery, so like nothing
Right.
is normal. So I can't be
Nothing's
like,
normal.
oh, do you feel like you move around better? Like
No, I move around horribly
I know,
bad.
That's why. Okay.
No, I don't actually feel different in that way at all, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, a weight off. It's not like, I don't feel like light. I mean, like you said, it's all thrown off because of the knee surgery, I
It is.
suppose. But
also,
I
there's
don't
a big
feel
difference
light on
between
my feet.
being like 270 plus at like 6'3" versus being 270 at 5'8".
Right. Like even when I was 280, no one would look at me and be like, "Oh, fat bastard." They're like,
right.
you know,
right.
like I really wasn't fat. Like my body fat percentage was higher, but you wouldn't look at me. Like it was pretty well distributed from head to toe.
Do you feel like your
honestly.
body composition has changed drastically though, or do you just feel like nope, everything is just going proportionally?
I am a little bit leaner, if I'm being fair, but yeah, mostly proportionally.
Like when you say a little bit, like do you mean marginally? Like
marginal. I mean, probably noticeably. It's hard to tell on yourself over time, but like I am like my midsection and stuff is pretty. I mean, it should be. I weigh friggin' 220 some pounds, but it is like as lean as I've ever been there. But it's not really my goal.
Yeah,
I'm just. While I'm going through this and not doing stuff, I'm like, why am I don't need to eat like a pig right now because I can't,
right.
like, I'm not even I can't do anything.
Well,
so what am I using
to
this
recover
for?
if you're not pumping calories into it day and night?
And also, to be honest, I'm still eating like probably a lot more than most people, that.
You'd be surprised how most people eat.
Well, I don't mean most like just your average fat American. I mean like your people that are like trying to eat because of to make gains.
I hear you.
Progress.
The last few nights, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I'm wired, man. But like the last few nights, I look at MacroFactor. I'm at 2,700 calories. I'm like, dude, I'm done eating for the day, and I'm at 2,700 calories. Like that is way short of what MacroFactor determines 3,400 being maintenance calories for me. So I'm like,
so do you lose a little weight then when that happens a few days in a row, or?
I mean, yeah, after a few, but it's like a pound or two would be it after a few days. Cause then I will try and catch back up with it. Cause then
so what do you weigh right now?
I'm very consistently at 214 for the last couple of weeks.
Has that changed at all since you started MacroFactor then, or has it stayed about the same?
When I first started MacroFactor, I was a little closer to like 210, 211-ish.
So you've gained a few pounds.
Yeah. And that would be more because back then I might have a day where I get 100 grams of protein, and I might have a day where I get 240 grams of protein. I might have a day where I get 70 grams of fat, and I might have a day where I get 200 grams of fat. So like I'm just so much more even in my nutrition now.
So your lifting is going good then too, right?
Yeah, lifting is going pretty good actually. Yeah.
So do you think the MacroFactor? I mean, it's almost impossible to say.
Yeah.
But do you think the MacroFactor has any part in that?
I think it does. Like if I had to, it is really hard to say, especially when you have kids.
It's like almost if you're being real about it. It's like so many factors. It's like how it'd be really hard to pinpoint that.
It is like I will say there's a lot of variables in my life. There's a lot of variables. But I can say for sure, though, that this is the most just dialed in my nutrition has been. Not from like I'm trying to get cut or lean, but just from like a consistency, looking at macronutrients. The consistency on a daily to weekly basis is the most consistent they've ever been in my life. And I do think that has a factor in it where things, workouts, I would just say on average do feel a little better. And I think once I start hitting the weights harder, like I think that the gains are going to continue to feel like they're consistently there too. Cause I'm never feeling like I'm just like running, like I'm never feeling like the end of the runway is near. I just feel like, no, there's more road there. Like it's just, this is going to keep going and going.
It just takes time. Yeah.
That's what it feels like right now, which is always a good feeling.
That's the best feeling when it's like, all I need is more time.
I just if I show in and
I don't need to rush
put
anything.
In the work,
yeah.
Everything's gonna keep clicking. Like that's what the
best.
feeling is. Yeah,
it's not like you're like counting on these enormous, huge like PRs. It's just everything's just going right.
Of like, I have to go into the gym and absolutely destroy myself today. It's like no, I just know if I go in and put in the work, this week's gonna build on the week before, which is building on the week before. And like, how many of these can I chain together? Like I'm going on a 50-week combo here, whatever it is. And I know that'll turn into something eventually.
Well, and that reminds me, check out juggernautai.app. That's the program, all this week after week training and building and stuff. That's what Tommy's talking about right here is the progress he's making on that. It is the program he's running, has been running to do that. And it does give you that. That's when it's working its best. That is what it feels like.
We'll talk more about that actually when this ad is up and I finish my ad too.
Okay. But that is really what it feels like when it's working the best is that you're going to have hard training days, of course, especially some days are just hard, but it's fun when those come around, but like when it's doing your best, you're getting through those and you're almost like excited for the next time it comes around. And like, you're not just completely dead and you're just making this like long, steady progress over a long period of time. And I think that that's what Juggernaut AI is good at. They're also great at giving 10% off with discount code Massenomics. Possibly my favorite part about Juggernaut AI. Just when you sign up, you got to make sure to sign up through the website and not through the app. That's where you can use the discount code.
This episode is also brought to you by SwissLink. And when I think of SwissLink, I think of an amazing collection of goods from armed forces around the world. And one of those items that really stands out to me is the SwissLink water cans. They're available in made from 304 stainless steel in 10 and 20 liter options. They're engineered for reliability and safety. They're your ideal solution for efficient water storage and transportation. They're designed to cater a variety of needs from outdoor adventures to emergency preparedness. And it seamlessly combines durability with functionality. And doesn't say it here, but it has that timeless look to it too. So if you'd like to browse SwissLink's exceptional collection or maybe get a water can of your own, head on over to swisslink.com. And while you're there, use code MASS to save 15% on your next purchase. Swisslink.com, code MASS, save you 15%. Thank you, SwissLink.
Well, thanks, SwissLink.
I did want to say, so I did officially make the switch over from hypertrophy to strength blocks.
Nice.
And even the first week of strength, you're still riding that higher volume a little bit. But man, even going from sets of 8 to sets of 6, you're like, sets of 6?
Sweet. Yeah.
Man, like, I'm not even tired, man. I'm just so conditioned right now. I'm just a machine.
It is really fun though. It's weird how that's fun. You're like, oh, sweet.
It's like weird to walk away after between doing the bridge block, kind of being sick, getting back onto the hypertrophy block. I'm looking at, I haven't done really anything for the main movements, less than a set of 8 since the meet, which was July.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
That's right. And so now so August, September, October, November. I mean, almost 4 months of doing nothing less than 8 sets in a rep or 8 reps in a set. And so now it is crazy, but like going down to 6, you're just like, oh, I just feel so fresh finishing up this sixth rep here. Like and a lot of it's mindset, but also a lot of it is work. Like eight reps is always hard. I don't care who you are. If you're putting weight on the bar and doing 8 reps, it's really hard to do. And so I'm excited for the strength block to keep going.
So you're just like 1 weekend of that?
This is the first week of it. I've only had one workout.
Yeah.
So tomorrow will be my first bench workout of the strength block.
Yep. Sweet. You had weight in here. Was that just was it my body weight?
That was about your body weight. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're only a little over 10 pounds apart from each other right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably the closest we've ever been.
Probably because at my
when
heaviest,
you heaviest
still would have
like
been.
You were in your 230s. I was probably like 270. So it would have been
still
40 pounds spread there.
Still would have been way apart then. Yeah.
Yeah. I am like 55 pounds lighter than my heaviest right now.
Isn't that wild to think that you're
55 pounds?
That's a swing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I feel like outside of my knee being like this, I feel like I could like with my training just being on point again, I'm sure I'd gain a little bit of weight back. It's not fair to say because I wouldn't end up being 220s. I would put some weight
220
back on,
is not optimal for getting stronger at that height. Yeah.
Right.
But you also don't have to be 270 either, though.
No, being not that much heavier, I think I could still deadlift close to 700 pounds. And that's the easiest lift of the big ones to
hang on to.
For me to make that, at least for me personally. Bench is the one, though, that's
going to fall off.
It's hard. Yeah. 229, it's hard. I'm not going to be benching 475 at 229.
Oh, man. That'd be a much harder one to keep there.
But the weight, now obviously I have an uphill battle on squat to begin with, but even the way my squat was feeling before I had a lighter body weight, it still felt like I'm like, no, I just had that feeling where like, no, this just takes time. It keeps like I'm improving all the time. It just like literally is just a time thing.
Mm-hmm.
But bench is the one on the body weight though. Like
it does.
You almost can't replace
that. Goes away. Yeah. It's
degree.
Like having that less foundation underneath you. It doesn't work the same.
like sometimes when I'm benching, I'm like, why does it feel like I have to move it so far in all directions?
It doesn't actually feel like that.
Yeah, it does actually, where I'm just like, it feels like my arms got like 6 inches longer or something, and it's like, guess it's just from like, because, my chest is smaller by just a little bit. My back smaller just by a little bit. Like even just like back fat and just stuff in there. Like that didn't normally like pinch together, You
get less of that platform for everything to sit on.
Right.
Yeah, that'll do it. One other thing along training, I forgot to mention this. I am trying to make the switch over to low bar positioning again.
How does that feel?
And it's so funny now because, I mean, my ideal squat is like a nice low bar, and it's always felt so great for me. But I do now what in my head feels like a low bar, like it's damn near falling off my back. And then I watch the video, I'm like, I can
really high
hardly
still.
tell the difference between these. I mean, I definitely can. Like, there definitely
but
is.
It's not as low as like what you would have put it like 5 years ago.
Not before, and I can't go right into that positioning like when it,
right.
Like I would definitely not be ready for that. But I probably the biggest difference, I can notice it in my knee travel. Like it's not as drastic as it is with high bar.
Yeah. Does it feel like you could do more weight eventually?
I think so. But man, after doing it I was just starting to work into some before I got sick for that crazy stretch. So I had a few days where I got some higher rep, low weight stuff in with high bar. But this other day I did, 5 sets of 6 with 335 at low bar. And yeah, I felt pretty just like in control the whole time on it.
Yeah.
Did really feel that soreness in like through your, almost like your upper hamstrings, like glute area. You don't get that with high bar. Like you don't get that soreness in there ever. So I'm like, oh, maybe there is some growth that can be happening in the legs and even my back. Like I never have an issue with my back rounding, but even moving the bar a little bit, it does sit on your back and you use your back muscles a little differently too. So maybe there's some growth that can happen in the legs and back through this too.
I bet with little time, it'll probably only get better and better.
Only time will tell.
Yep. Speaking of powerlifting, speaking of strongman, the strongman registration opened for the 2025 Lift Hard, Live Easy Classic exclusively to our crew members and our supporting members and our gym members. And almost every single one of those spots filled immediately. There were possibly still technically 2 super heavyweight spots open. So if you're a super heavyweight, particularly if you're a supporting member or a gym member, you could get those spots. We haven't opened it to general public yet, but they don't get taken. Maybe we'll do that. And probably more important to more people, the powerlifting registration opens up to just supporting members and gym members here on the day that this episode comes out, actually, right? The Monday, the 18th.
Oh, actually, yeah. Yeah, you'd be correct.
So it'll be the day that this comes out. That's opening up to those supporting members and gym members. And if the following week there's any spots left, those are the rest of you could potentially get a spot there. But I have a feeling a lot of those 90 spots will get taken pretty quickly.
I would sure think so, if the previous years are any indicator of what could happen.
So we're getting people signed up and ready to book their trips to sunny, beautiful western Northeast South Dakota back in July 2025.
Just punch that ticket. Yep.
It's like a circle, isn't it? We're just riding this merry-go-round around and around, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Was there something else about the registration? I guess we did say maybe we should put it out there. To a lot of people, this is not relatively trivial, but I did just feel like it's worth mentioning so no one feels like they're caught off guard. The past couple of years, if you signed up as a lifter, you got a free meat shirt. Because of us changing a few things and because of us really looking into the books closely over the last couple of years, in an effort for us to maybe like not lose money, this year by signing up, you do not get a free shirt. If you're a volunteer or a worker or helper, you still get a free shirt because that's one of the few things you get as a reward for that, what you're doing. But the lifters do not get a free one. However, we're going to do something like you can buy it at cost, so it'll be for sale at like $15 or I don't know, maybe we'll do some other deal. If you buy X number of dollars from our booth, maybe you get it free then. The problem was, and I guess we don't even have to get into even this many specifics, but what I would just say.
This is the part we're going to break down the legal the legal structure of our business.
What I would say for like the powerlifting part of it specifically, we're not taking any of that revenue for people signing up, and Massenomics isn't getting that. But then we're giving out a shirt for that. And then some of the people, a lot of them are supporting members who are going to come buy stuff from us, and then we feel like it equals out in the end anyways. But some of the people aren't. They're just people that are doing a meet.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, just gave away a shirt to someone that doesn't even really, support Massenomics much. So
yeah. And like it probably gets more of the details. Some people don't, we won't dwell on it too long, but like some people don't get this distinction. Dave is the one that puts on and runs the meet. So
right.
Dave, who does an amazing job, Dave is the one that collects all of the money from the meet. We get no money from the meet fee at all. Like when you register, and you pay your $100 or whatever it is to be part of the meet, like Massenomics sees zero of that, which is fine because Dave runs the whole meet. But like we want people to understand that we see zero of that. And in the past, we've been spending like over $1,000 of our own money, like just giving shirts away on top of all the other stuff we do. So when you look at just the sheer amount of time and effort that goes into this thing, just trying to make it feel a little less like we're not working for minimum wage in the entire process.
Minimum wage could even be generous.
Or less, I should say, actually. I forget minimum wage isn't, it's not $5 anymore. South Dakota minimum wage is slightly higher than that, but.
Slightly. What is it even?
I think it's
like
$7
$8
right now.
Okay.
Maybe it's 8. I don't know. I'm not sure.
The Fed dropped rates again.
Did they? Today or like a week ago?
No, that was like maybe a week ago now.
Yeah.
A month ago they had dropped 0.5%, and a week ago they dropped 0.25%.
Okay.
So it's come down 0.75% in the last 2 months, approximately.
Yeah.
Not directly related to minimum wage, but as long as we're talking economy.
Talking the economy, man, bring that down another % or so. For anyone that, if someone in this podcast happened to buy a house, let's say in like 2023-ish, a rate drop would be welcome. That's all I'm saying.
I would imagine that's got to be what happened. I mean, I know that the prime interest rate isn't that housing rates don't have to follow that to a T or anything like that, but I would think it's a leading indicator of where that would be headed too.
I think so. I think that's what they say, right?
I don't know. Nobody actually
It'll only
knows,
be a matter of time before interest rates are just magically down to like 2.5% again, and just the funny money's flying around. It like actually, Tanner, have you been paying attention to some of the more non-traditional investment items this week, I should say?
Like Bitcoin's up big, right?
Yeah, like just all those things just going absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So that's I'm just wondering, like, okay, does that go? Like, do interest rates get low? Once NFTs start popping again, then I know we're in some funny money times. That's like that's I feel like the key indicator there. So be on the lookout. If NFTs start happening, something we're overcooking things maybe.
My only advice on any of that is don't get yourself too high on the highs, and then conversely, don't get yourself too low on the lows. Everything else, it's there's balance.
All about
there's always balance.
That's right.
Yeah, things balance out. Just a little teaser. We have a just assortment of just like really exclusive little odds and ends things that we're gonna possibly people will have a chance to get their hands on when they like order early and just various things. But I'm just gonna hold up a couple of things right now for our
little
video watchers of just like some a few. We've got a couple
and
different.
When we say show
items.
and tell, this is just show, no tell.
There's
Tanner's holding up exclusive
bag of stuff.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen most of these.
Yeah, there's other things here. I'm not even gonna hold all of them up, but there is just various things that we've got coming.
Yeah,
like little cool, exciting little additions to our merchandise offerings. And also the awards for the 2024 Golden PP Grip Gauntlet Challenge held at Crew Falls December 2 Remember event. The awards came in. There's 3 awards. I don't have them. I do actually have them right here. Do we want to unveil them, or should we save that for a little bit? Maybe we should save that.
Maybe, but man, I really want to see those things. But yeah, maybe we'll save that for next week.
Yeah. Okay. We'll unveil the awards so people can start getting excited over what they could win. So we got 3 awards. You think one of them will go to the person that actually does the best in the Grimp contest, and the other two we'll think of various ways of people to be able to win those awards, so it should be fun. Anything else this week?
That's probably about it.
We kind of did the damn thing, didn't we?
Maybe our best episode we've ever made. This could be the one.
Be. Angelo didn't talk as much as Zach from episode 449. He did not keep up with Zach.
No, he didn't. He didn't. But there's always next time, I guess.
That was a tough act to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's it. That's all, folks. We're holding our own. Tommy, where do they find you at?
You can find me at Tomahawk_D.
You can follow me at Tanner_Bear. Just make sure to follow Massenomics at Massenomics.
See ya.